Welcome back to our virtual classroom. Previously, we've learned how to approach two types of questions, command of evidence and detailed questions. Today, we're going to apply all of the skills that we have learned in these exercises. Now let's start off with the first paragraph that we got here. This paragraph is adapted from Barry Schwartz, More Isn't Always Better, 2006 by Harvard Business Review. A Harvard Business Review. Now that's a very essential piece of information we need to cling on to. Business Review. The passage starts off with, marketers assume that the more choices they offer, the more likely customers will be able to find just the right thing. They assume, for instance, that offering 50 styles of jeans instead of 2 increases the chances that shoppers will find a pair they really like. Nevertheless, research now shows that there can be too much choice. When there is, consumers are less likely to buy anything at all, and if they do buy, they are less satisfied with their selection. Now on the go, right away, we need to determine the main idea of this paragraph. What does it say? It's literally saying less is more, which is opposite to the marketer's assumption. They think that if they display more items, customers are more likely to purchase and buy, but it's actually the opposite. It creates confusion and it hinders the consumer from formulating or making a final decision that is satisfactory to him, to himself. So this is our main idea for now. Let's move on to the next paragraph. It all began with jam. In 2000, psychologists Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper published a remarkable study. On one day, shoppers at an upscale food market saw a display table with 24 varieties of gourmet jam. Those who sampled the spreads received a coupon for $1 off any jam. On another day, shoppers saw a similar table, except that only 6 varieties of the jam were on display. The large display attracted more interest than the small one. But when the time came to purchase, people who saw the large display were 1/10 as likely to buy as people who saw the small display. Now this is like some sort of observation that happened in one of the most famous, reputable, classy food markets, and they came up with this conclusion. The last sentence is the conclusion sentence. Here we got like an example on the idea or the central idea that we have discussed in the preceding paragraph. Remember, less is more, which is unlike, which contradicts with the marketer's assumption or the way they think this strategy should be approached. Now, so far, paragraph 1 is an introduction. Paragraph 2 is an example to place emphasis on the central idea. Let's look at the third paragraph What does it have to offer? Does it align with paragraph 2? Is it another example or maybe another piece of perspective? We shall know in a minute. Other studies have confirmed this result that more choice is not always better. So from the first sentence we can say that this passage is about the confirmation of the same idea, like it aligns, it complies with the central idea. We have some sort of consistency here. The author seems to support the claim that implies that less is more. As the variety of snacks, soft drinks, and beers offered at convenience stores increases, for instance, sales volume and customer satisfaction decrease. Now that's an inverse kind of relationship. We got two kind of relationship we need to look at. Inverse proportion and direct proportion or direct relationship. Direct is when something is increasing, the other value or other variable should be increasing as well. Like they go in parallel. Unlike inverse relationship, which has to do with two variables going in opposite directions accordingly or simultaneously. So here, moreover, as the number of retirement investments, or before that, even before that, when the variety of snacks, soft drinks, and beers, like goods, offered at convenience store increases, when this variety increases, what is decreasing here? The sales volume and customer satisfaction decreases. Now, wow, that's such like a critical observation we got here. It's kind of it defies all of the conventions that we know about business. So it turns out that marketers are wrong, and psychology is like the winner of the day here. Moreover, as the number of retirement investment options available to employees increases, the chance that they will choose any decreases. These studies and others have shown not only that excessive choice can produce choice paralysis, but also that it can reduce people's satisfaction with their decisions, even if they made good ones. So here, more supporting details. Remember, guys, in a paragraph we got topic sentence, then we have supporting details or examples, you name it, and at the end we have a conclusion sentence that rephrases the main idea. So here, the detailed sentences are like centered around the main topic, which is again less is more. Like this is how to put it simply. So it causes choice paralysis. What else? Let's look. Take a look at this sentence. My colleagues and I have found that increased choice decreases satisfaction with matters as trivial as ice cream flavors and as significant as jobs. So it's applicable to all kind of enterprise or business. Whether you got a variety of flavors you have to pick from or select from, or various job offers, for example. Imagine that you are offered 100 jobs and you can actually accept one of these 100 jobs offered or job offers. How confused you would be, how time consuming would that be? How dissatisfied would you be knowing that you have left at some point or you have dropped one of the best offers? So So you will always be in doubt. You will have a choice paralysis, like there are a lot of options. You don't know where to start, where to start or how to assess, because there are a lot. Instead, having two job offers will allow you to assess properly, effectively, and deliberately. Like you will be careful with which job offer you're going to choose eventually. Your terminal job offer will be based on a criteria that you set yourself, but this criteria is applicable here because you only have few options. Okay, moving on, let's look at this paragraph and what does it have to offer. These results challenge what we think we know about human nature and the determinants of well-being. Both psychology and business have operated on the assumption that the relationship between choice and well-being is straightforward. Now colon implies further explanation. The more choices people have, the better off they are. In psychology, however, the benefits of choice have been tied to autonomy and control. As I said. In business, the benefits of choice have been tied to the benefits of free markets more generally. Added options make no one worse off, and they are bound to make someone better off. Choice is good for us, but its relationship to satisfaction appears to be more complicated than we had assumed. There is diminishing marginal utility in having alternatives. Each new option subtracts a little from the feeling of well-being until the marginal benefits of added choice level off. What's more, psychologists and business academics alike have largely ignored another outcome of choice. More of it requires increased time and effort and can lead to anxiety, regret, excessively high expectations, and self-blame if the choices do not work out. When the number of available options is small, these costs are negligible, but the costs grow with the number of options. Eventually, each new option makes us feel worse off than we did before. So here we're still consistent with the same topic. Less is more. More options create anxiety, create psychological complications that are uncalled for and that are not so beneficial for the business, for both the marketers and the customers or consumers. So it's like a losing game here. This approach should be dropped, should be like what we can do without it. Let's stick to less options. Let's stick to quality of options, of limited options, rather than variety of options of different qualities that will create an anxiety and create paralysis in terms of choosing which one is the best, because you don't have the time to assess all of these options that you got, and you will always think that you might have uh, uh, um, disregarded or overlooked a very valuable option. So this is the problem. This is the complication we're talking about. It's purely psychological here, but it's affecting the business. It's like costly and psychologically distressing. Now the last paragraph. Without a doubt, having more options enables us, most of the time, to achieve better objective outcomes. Again, having 50 styles of jeans as opposed to 2 increases the likelihood that customers will find a pair that fits. But and but is a very interesting word. The subjective outcome may be that shoppers will feel overwhelmed and dissatisfied. This dissociation between objective and subjective results creates a significant challenge for retailers and marketers that look to choice as a way to enhance the perceived value of their goods and services. As I said before, let's look at the quality rather than the quantity, because quantity is harmful for for the business generally. Objectively, that's a good thing, but when it comes to each one's choice, and like when you dissect it or look at it from the perspective of the customer, you would realize that it's not the best option. Last paragraph. Choice can no longer be used to justify a marketing strategy in and of itself. More isn't always better, either for the customer or for the retailer. Discovering how much assortment is warranted is a considerable empirical challenge, but companies that get the balance right will be amply rewarded. That was the last paragraph. Let's start off with the question associated to this passage. Which choice best supports the author's claim that an excess of choice can lead consumers to become overwhelmed? Now here we're asking for a support. So we have to go back to the passage and find this specific detail, very specific detail. Okay, so we can make up our mind. We're gonna look at lines 3, between lines 3 and 5, 18 and 20, 46 and 48, 74 and 75. Let's start off with 3, 18, 46 and 74. 3. They assume, for instance, that offering 50 styles of jeans instead of 2 increases the chances that shoppers will find a pair they really like. Now this line doesn't imply or doesn't include the fact that less is more. It's just like what the marketers assume, or that that's how the marketers usually like approach uh, uh, this strategy, this marketing strategy. So A is omitted, of course. Let's exclude more answer choices. We still have B, C, and D, 18, 46, and 74. 18, line number 18. But when the time came to purchase, people who saw the large display were 1/10 as likely to buy as people who saw the small display. So this has to do with the main topic, the main idea that we have like pre-decided beforehand. So B is an answer to go back to. Line number 46 to 48, 46 to 48. Choice is good for us, but its relationship to satisfaction appears to be more complicated than we had assumed. Now that is quite close to our argument here, or the claim. So we're going to keep C as well. But keep in mind that we have like excluded A so far. Let's confirm that B and C are options, are only options, by looking at D. 73. 73, line 73. More isn't always better, either for the customer or for the retailer. More isn't always better, either for the customer or for the retailer. Now, what do you think of this statement, guys? The question, back to the question. Which choice best supports the author's claim that an excess of choice can lead consumers to become overwhelmed. Which one has to do with overwhelming the consumers? Think about it. Is it A, is it B, or is it D? Sorry, is it B, C, or D? I will narrow it down for you guys. It's either B or D. Not A, not C, because they do not address this claim. This is a very specific, straightforward kind of question. It has to imply all of these elements. One, it supports the author's claim, that's one, that excess of choice can lead consumers to become overwhelmed. More options, less consumers, less sales, let's say, because of distress or confusion. More isn't always better, either for the customer or for the retailer. So far we talked about the claim, but what about its effect uh, on consumers? Let's look at this. But when the time came to purchase, so people are involved here, who saw the large display were 1/10 as likely to buy as people who saw the small display. So they saw something, they reacted upon it. They were more likely to like purchase or not purchase. It depends on the statement. But here we have the claim and the people reaction implying how they became overwhelmed. So actually B is the best option that we got for this question.